Once upon a time, the colors of the world started to quarrel. All claimed that they were the best, the most important, the most useful, the most beautiful, the favorite. Green said, "Clearly I am the most important. I am the sign of life and of hope. I was chosen for grass, trees, and leaves. Without me, all animals would die. Look over the countryside, and you will see that I am in the majority." But Blue interrupted. "You only think about the earth, but consider the sky and the sea. It is the water that is the basis of life, and drawn up by the clouds from the deep sea. The sky gives space and peace and serenity. Without my peace, you would all be nothing." End quote. Blue is a calming color, unless it's the color of a genre of music. Then it can elicit quite the emotion. Hello once again, I'm Don Jackson with the heartbeat of the Internet. I've always liked this quote from Robert James Waller in the Bridges of Madison County. He wrote, "There are songs that come free from the blue-eyed grass, from the dust of 1,000 country roads." These may be some of those songs, and a few blue videos along the way. I ran across an article in the New York Times from October of 2012, all about the color blue. The writer, Nathalie Angier, begins, "For the French Fauvist painter and color gourmand Raoul Dufy, blue was the only color with enough strength of character to remain blue in all its tones. Darkened red looks brown, and whitened red turns pink, while yellow blackens with shading and fades away in the light. But blue can be brightened or dimmed," the artist said, "and it will always stay blue." End quote. So maybe blue was right when it argued about its importance with the color green at the beginning of this webcast. Angier tells us that other researchers are tracing the history of blue pigments in human culture and the role those pigments have played in shaping our notions of virtue, authority, divinity, and social class. "Blue pigments have played an outstanding role in human development," said Heinz Burke, an emeritus professor of chemistry at the University of Zurich. "For some cultures," he said, "they were as valuable as gold." As a raft of surveys have shown, blue love is a global affair. Ask people their favorite color, and in most parts of the world, roughly half will say blue, a figure 3 to 4 times the support accorded common second-place finishers like purple or green. Just 1 in 6 Americans is blue-eyed, but nearly 1 in 2 consider blue the prettiest eye color, which could be why some 50% of tinted contact lenses sold are the kind that make your brown eyes blue. Nathalie Angier in the New York Times article goes on to write, "Sick children like their caretakers in blue. A recent study in the Cleveland Clinic found that young patients preferred nurses wearing blue uniforms to those in white or yellow. For Americans, blue jeans have a special connotation because of their association with the Old West and rugged individualism," said Stephen Blaisher, author of Contemporary Color, Theory and Use. "The jeans take their John Wayne reputation seriously. Because the indigo dye fades during washing, everyone's blue becomes uniquely different," said Mr. Blaisher, a professor of visual arts at Coastal Carolina University. "They're your blue jeans." End quote. I watched a great sci-fi film on television some years back called Final Approach. It was from 1991 and starred James B. Seeking as a test pilot of a super-secret stealth fighter who crashes his plane in the desert, only to find himself awake and confused in the office of psychiatrist Dio Gottlieb, who was played by Hector Elizondo. They were trying to piece together the events that led up to his being there. Now, I don't recommend too many sci-fi films for you to watch, but I do this one. It was the first film ever with digital sound. 2 paintings just behind his desk on the wall. One depicts heaven, the other hell. One of them is in blue, the other in red. And it shouldn't take a stretch of the imagination to figure out which one is heaven. In this New York Times article, Nathalie Angier continues, and again I quote, "But skies have their limits, and blue can also imply coldness, sorrow, and death." On learning of a good friend's suicide in 1901, Pablo Picasso fell into a severe depression, and he began painting images of beggars, drunks, the poor, and the halt, all famously rendered in a palette of blue. Nathalie Angier goes on to say, "The provenance of using the blues to mean sadness isn't clear, but L. Elizabeth Crawford, a professor of psychology at the University of Richmond in Virginia, suggested that the association arose from the look of the body when it's in a low energy, low oxygen state. The lips turn blue, there's a blue pallor to the complexion," she said. "It's the opposite of the warm flushing of the skin that we associate with love, kindness, and affection." End quote. But let's lean toward the positive rather than just the negative, since blue is my favorite color. Inspirational speaker, seminar leader, and color expert Kate Smith began the first blog devoted to color around 2005. She has a degree in fine arts, and her website is sensationalcolor.com. She writes, and I quote, "Blue is seen as trustworthy, dependable, and committed. Blue is the least gender-specific color, having equal appeal to both men and women. The color of ocean and sky, blue is perceived as a constant in our lives. As the collective color of the spirit, it invokes rest and can cause the body to produce chemicals that are calming. However, not all blues are serene and sedate. Electric or brilliant blues become dynamic and dramatic, an engaging color that expresses exhilaration. Some shades or the overuse of blue may come across as cold or uncaring. Indigo, a deeper blue, symbolizes a mystical borderland of wisdom, self-mastery, and spiritual realization. While blue is the color of communication with others, indigo turns the blue inward to increase personal thought, profound insights, and instant understandings." End quote. This is called The Path That Leads to Nowhere by Corinne Roosevelt Robinson. There's a path that leads to nowhere in a meadow that I know, where an inland river rises and the stream is still and slow. There it wanders under willows and beneath the silver green of the birches' silent shadows where the early violets lean. Other pathways lead to somewhere, but the one I love so well had no end and no beginning, just the beauty of the dell, just the wildflowers and the lilies, yellow striped as adder's tongue, seem to satisfy my pathway as it winds their sweets among. There I go to meet the springtime when the meadow is aglow, marigolds amid the marshes, and the stream is still and slow. There I find my fair oasis, and with carefree feet I tread, for the pathway leads to nowhere, and the blue is overhead. All the ways that lead to somewhere echo with the hurrying feet of the struggling and the striving, but the way I find so sweet bids me dream and bids me linger. Joy and beauty are its goal. On the path that leads to nowhere, I have sometimes found my soul. Why make so much of fragmentary blue? In here and there a bird or butterfly or flower or wearing stone or open eye, when heaven presents in sheets the solid hue. An excerpt from Fragmentary Blue by Robert Frost. Again, back to the writing of color expert Kate Smith with facts about the meaning of blue around the world. In Chinese culture, colors corresponded with the 5 primary elements, the directions, and the 4 seasons. Blue was associated with wood, east, and spring. Blue, blue-green, and green are sacred colors in Iran, where they symbolize paradise. In India, paintings of the god Krishna often depict him as having blue skin. In the United States, post office mailboxes are typically blue. In Mexico, blue is the color of mourning or grief. In Aztec culture, blue symbolized sacrifice. In Greece, the color blue is believed to ward off the evil eye. Those who believe in this Greek superstition often wear a blue charm necklace or blue bracelet for protection. Some interesting information about blue. President Martin Van Buren is credited with introducing blue into the decorating scheme of the White House in 1837, and since then there's always been a blue room in the White House. People are often more productive in blue rooms. Over the past decade, scientists have reported the successful use of blue light in the treatment of a wide variety of psychological problems, including addictions, eating disorders, impotence, and depression. Blue is one color that means low or guarded in the color-coded threat system established by presidential order in March 2002. This threat system quickly informs law enforcement agencies when intelligence indicates a change in the terrorist threat facing the United States. Blue is the favored color choice for toothbrushes. Powder blue is often used in products to promote cleanliness and purity. It's also interesting to note that most websites favor blue as their background. We decided to be different. Again, back to the writing of color expert Kate Smith. The 1993 film Blue consists entirely of the color blue with narration and sound bites. Patrick Swayze's last film before he died was called Powder Blue, in which he played an aging rock star, and the entire film had a blue quality to it. Alice Blue is a light blue-gray or steel blue color that was favored by Alice Roosevelt Longworth, daughter of Theodore Roosevelt. It sparked a fashion sensation in the United States. The highest quality ultramarine blue is made with powder lapis lazuli from Afghanistan. Mosquitoes are attracted to the color blue twice as much as to any other color. Blue tigers, Maltese tigers, have been sporadically reported in the mountains of the Fujian province in China. They are described as bluish-gray or slight blue with white patches on the face and black stripes. IBM's Deep Blue became the first computer to win a chess tournament against a reigning world champion chess master. Deep Blue had 32 processors and processed about 200 million chess moves per second in its historic 6-game match against Garry Kasparov. Today, Blue Gene is the fastest supercomputer in the world and the descendant of Deep Blue. It uses 131,000 processors to routinely handle 280 trillion operations every second. End quote. I mentioned the reason behind Pablo Picasso's blue period. There was much more. Kate Smith goes on to write, it refers to a series of paintings in which the color blue dominates, and which he painted between 1901 and 1904. The blue period is a marvelous expression of poetic subtlety and personal melancholy, and contributes to the transition of Picasso's style from classicism to abstract art. End quote. And speaking of artists, Vincent van Gogh said, there is no blue without yellow and without orange. Leatrice Eisenman, in the Color Answer book, discussed the color blue as your choice of car color. The message you send by driving a vehicle that is dark blue, credible, confident, dependable. If, however, your vehicle is a light or mid-blue, you give a different impression. Cool, calm, faithful, quiet. Again, Kate Smith writes, in auto racing, a blue flag signals the start or resumption of a race, as well as advising a car to yield to faster traffic behind. Kano, the founder of judo, created divisions among students using belt colors in order to give students recognition for certain achievements. The blue belt symbolizes the blueness of our skies. In reaching this plateau in martial arts, one must not become complacent, seeing one's knowledge as high as a tree, but instead realize that this is not an end. One should reach still higher, to the very blueness of the sky. Like the sky which engulfs and embraces us, knowledge should transcend the height of the trees, so it may spread all around us. End quote. It's Paul Gauguin who wrote, if you see a tree as blue, then make it blue. In the entertainment world, we have the spectacular and very creative Blue Man Group. Incidentally, they do have music videos on YouTube. Kate Smith continues with companies or brands identified primarily with blue. Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Ford, The Gap, IBM, Intel, Pepsi, Tiffany and Company. End quote. And here in Canada, the Royal Bank, Burke's Jewelry Boxes, the Conservative Party. In the States, it's the color of the Democratic Party. Carl Sandburg urged the wind to do his bidding with the color blue. Blue water wind in summer, come off the blue miles of lake. Carry us cool, carry your blue to our homes. Of course, there are many songs with blue in the title. Blue Suede Shoes by Carl Perkins, covered by Elvis Presley and worn by Marc Cohn while walking in Memphis. Blue Christmas by Elvis. Blue by Joni Mitchell. Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain by Willie Nelson. Bluebird by Paul McCartney and Wings. Devil with a Blue Dress On and Good Golly Miss Molly by Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. And so many more. Kate Smith gives us some popular blue phrases. Out of the blue, or unexpected. True blue, to be loyal or faithful. Once in a blue moon, an event that occurs infrequently. Blue ribbon, first place to describe something as being of the highest quality. Blue blood, an aristocrat. Blue law, laws about morality issues. Blue comedy, jokes about socially taboo subjects. Blueprint, a detailed design of an object or idea. Feeling blue, to feel sad or unhappy. Blue plate special, a special priced meal at a restaurant. And it's interesting to note that food does not look appetizing in blue light, so if you're trying to diet, change the light bulb in your refrigerator to a blue one. Kate Smith writes, "The color blue is the least common color in the foods we eat. Blueberries are the favorite blue foods, and they have been touted in recent years for their health benefits. Blue is one of the cooler colors in landscape design, and it brings a soothing element to the garden. Blue plants visually recede, helping to make a small space appear larger." End quote. Natalie Angier in the New York Times said that blue can connote coolness and tranquility, is one of nature's little inside jokes. Blue light is on the high energy end of the visible spectrum, and the comparative shortness of its wavelengths explains why the blue portion of the white light from the sun is easily scattered by the nitrogen and oxygen in our atmosphere, and thus why the sky looks blue. End quote. A few other blue facts from blogger Luke Ward now. Owls are the only birds that can actually see the color blue. Bluebirds can't. In ancient Rome, blue was worn by the public servants, which marked the beginning of the idea for today's police uniforms. Blue is associated with airmail and the Navy. A survey has shown blue to be the best-selling color in women's sweaters because women think men like it. It is the color most preferred by men. Blue was traditionally associated with pain in China. 8% of the world's population have blue eyes. Studies show weightlifters are able to handle heavier weights in blue gyms. Blue Skittles were not out until 15 years after the original Skittles. End quote. And there are even blue M&Ms. Incidentally, they are my favorite. And the Catholic religion associates blue with the Virgin Mary. Here's another favorite example of blue, the blue morpho butterfly with its iridescent sheen of the wings. Some of the more spectacular blue specimens are also found in the tropics. Finally, Rupert Brooke wrote of some of his favorite things. Rainbows and the blue, bitter smoke of wood, and radiant raindrops couching in cool flowers, and flowers themselves that sway through the sunny hours, dreaming of moths that drink them under the moon. I wonder if he made those observations under a blue moon. Good night, sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.